Did you hear that?
buyraycon.com/RFR. That's buyraycon.com/RFR. Get 15% off Raycon wireless earbuds. buyraycon.com/RFR. And we thank them so much for their support of us here at Rebel Force Radio.
Rebel force has penetrated the shield and landed on Endor.
This is where the fun begins.
A long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away.
This is Rebel Force Radio.
Your source for the Force.
Star Wars news and commentary.
With Jason Swank and Jimmy Mack.
I've seen Star Wars 500 times.
Star Wars #1.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Now it's time for Rebel Force Radio.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Oh, yes. Chut, everybody. Welcome back to Rebel Force Radio. We got a little something for everybody this week on the show. We got bounty hunters. We've got incredible resources for Star Wars collectors. We've got some news coming up here. We got J.J. Abrams talking about, should we have a plan? I don't know. It's always best if you have a plan, I guess. All that coming up here on Rebel Force Radio, this week's show for June 10th, 2021. So grateful to be with you and glad that you are taking the time out to listen to us this week. And also, I've got a little something right here. It hasn't really hit the bookshelves, and I'll show that in just a minute. But first, of course, I want to bring on my good friend and yours from Chicago, Jimmy Mack.
Hey, Jason. Hey, Star Wars fans. Oh, that's very intriguing what you just revealed there. You held up something for those in our audience who are actually watching the video, and members of Patreon All Access. Jason teased what he's going to talk about. We got a lot coming up on this show.
Big show.
But you know what I got?
What do you got?
I got a headache. Yeah, I'm Wrecker. Now I'm Wrecker, and I'm going to be Wrecker because good orders follow soldiers. Ah, my head.
All right.
Good.
We didn't have anything, a Bad Batch on the rundown. I noticed it as the show was starting. There's no Bad Batch on the rundown. That's really the biggest thing happening in Star Wars right now.
Yeah, but there's no news. The news is the show, and we cover the show on the Bad Batch after show.
But I wanted to have a Bad Batch presence in the show. So
okay.
I gave you a little taste of Wrecker there, so you can't say we're not covering all the bases on the weekly RFR.
Oh, my head is pounding me. I need an Advil.
Yeah, please, someone give Wrecker some ibuprofen or something. I have to share this real quick. As I said, we have a huge show coming up. We've got in the cantina Dominic Pace. You know him as Gecko from Mandalorian Season 1. He's going to drop by and talk to us about what's going on with him, including this incredible tour that he's on. He's doing it again. He's going across the country, various independent record stores, comic book shops, hobby shops, all of that. He's there and signing autographs and bringing in the foot traffic to help out these small businesses. Also, as I mentioned, this incredible new website for Star Wars collectors, happybeeps.net, founded by Bill Reedway. And Bill is somebody that Jimmy Mack met at a Rancho Obi-Wan gala. And I guess he had sort of talked to you about this idea that he had several years ago, and now here it is.
There it is, like 3 years later. It's amazing. So that's what happens when you have the combination of passion for Star Wars along with a good idea and a lot of motivation and drive. The next thing you end up doing is servicing the Star Wars fan community in such a great way. So looking forward to catching up with Bill and taking a deep dive into his creation, happybeeps.net, which is a invaluable resource for Star Wars collectors of all types.
All right, real quick, I have to share this. So, of course, it's the end of the school year, and my son Parker was clearing out his backpack, and he had this, and I'm holding up to the screen. So this is The Mandalorian, and he basically, he and a buddy of his decided to write a book about the Mandalorian.
Ooh.
And it's several pages, and they wrote it themselves. They included photos that they clipped, from Google Images. But basically, what my son did was he went through by memory and summarized and sort of narrated the first season of The Mandalorian in his own words.
And how old is young Parker?
He's 8 years old. He'll be 9 in the fall.
8 years old. See, I love this. I love this. It's like when you ask an 8-year-old how to prepare a Thanksgiving turkey, you'll get all kind of wild answers about you putting the turkey in the oven at 100 degrees for 20 minutes and stuff. Like crazy stuff.
This is him. This is his summary of the Mandalorian season. I had no idea he was working on this. Apparently, he would, whenever they would have free time in school, in class this school year, he would add, a few lines, and then before you know it, by the end of the school year, he had the whole first season of The Mandalorian summarized here in his own book. So I'm going to just read you just a little highlight here from chapter 1. Chapter 1, The Mandalorian. Boom, boom. When Mando was a child, one day he was under attack. His parents hid him in a dumpster. Sadly, his parents died. But then the Mandalorians came to rescue, and the Mandalorian found the Mandalorian in the dumpster. The Mandalorian took Mando up in the sky with a jetpack. They tested Mando with a blaster. They tested Mando every day until Mando was officially a Mandalorian. The Mandalorian went to the Hunters Guild to get a bounty tracker. The Mando tracker led Mando to his bounty. He fought people that led Mando straight to Baby Yoda. Wow. That's just chapter 1, man. This thing is chock-a-block full of incredible stories. I'll give you a little teaser of chapter 2. Chapter 2. Yes. Mando took Baby Yoda to the Razor Crest. Mando made an area for Baby Yoda. After Mando made an area for Baby Yoda, Mando went for a bounty. When Mando came back, his ship was stripped. The Jawas, Mando said, said, if you get the Mudhorn's Poral, we will build your ship back. Mando said, okay. Mando went to the Mudhorn's cave. The Mudhorn kicked Mando out of the cave. Mando tried to use his flamethrower on the Mudhorn, but it did not work. So Mando tried to use his grappling hook to get closer to the Mudhorn. He tried to stab the Mudhorn, but Baby Yoda used the Force on the Mudhorn. They gave Mando time to stab the Mudhorn and got the Poral. So there it is. What I love about this is the fact that he hasn't watched these episodes in some time, and they made such an impression on him that he was able to sort of like recap them in this book. Wow. I was so proud. It's proud.
Amazing. I love that. And he breaks down the episodes with greater clarity than anything I've ever seen on Wikipedia. Right? Baby Yoda agrees. Baby Yoda's like, yeah. Absolutely. Do you like that, Baby Yoda?
Baby Yoda.
Go-wop. All right, I'm going to put him aside. All right,
we got some news headlines. Let's check it out.
Oh, my head.
I have good news for you, my lord.
That's good news. Come closer, I have good news.
All right, this was something that I never thought that I would live to see, and this is the closest we'll probably ever get to sort of a Star Wars sequel trilogy post-mortem comment from J.J. Abrams, and this comes by way of Collider. This is an interview that J.J. gave, and Jim, I got to confess, I didn't read the whole interview. I don't believe that it was all about Star Wars. From what I gather, he was talking about other things, and Star Wars came up in the conversation.
Right. Yeah, this was a press junket for the 10th anniversary of J.J. Abrams' film Super 8, which I guess is now getting a 4K UHD Blu-ray release.
Aha.
So the guy from Collider snuck in a question for him about the Star Wars sequel trilogy. And Jason, I got to say, I think we will be hearing more comments about it as
you think
time
so?
passes.
Ah,
Absolutely.
okay.
Absolutely. Time always reveals. And JJ does choose his words carefully in the patented JJ Abrams kind of way. You'll hear in this long rambling answer he gives to this question that you'll hear JJ choosing his words very carefully, but still he doesn't want to betray himself and his own integrity. So he's going to tell it like it is in the most diplomatic way anyone in Hollywood ever could be. That's J.J. Abrams in a nutshell. He's just a good guy, you know? And so he is flat out asked if the Star Wars sequel trilogy would have benefited from having a strict 3-story plan from the very beginning, a beginning, a middle, and an end, charted out, plotted out, or does he prefer it to be a situation where the creators have the freedom to take the characters wherever the story might go, you know, without having to follow a preconceived and direct storyline. So JJ has asked this question. This is something we've been wondering a lot about here on Rebel Force Radio and within the fan base in general. We know that the method of making the sequel trilogy was like a game of pass the baton.
Right. It was like a what do they call that? A relay race.
A relay race, right?
Yeah.
Where it would go from creator to creator, and that particular individual would put their own personal spin on the Star Wars story. And that would have gone on indefinitely. It wouldn't have just wrapped up with the Skywalker saga and just kill it after episode 9. It would have gone on indefinitely. Episode 10, 11, 12, on and on, with a standalone film dropping in the years between.
Right. That was what we were promised.
Well, that was what was inferred. That was the inferred path of the franchise.
Okay.
And
fair enough.
And for better or worse, confirmed by reliable sources.
Right.
That was the direction it was going in. And we can see that happened in the first 5 years of the Disney ownership once the first film came out in 2015. It did follow that pattern until Solo tanked the whole thing. But not only Solo, it got kind of crushed under its own weight. It just proved that the pass the baton approach was fragile at best. When you're talking about a franchise like Star Wars that had been frozen in time for a while and had seen certain elements of its story set in stone by the creators and the fan base, by George Lucas himself. You know, George was pretty definitive about where the story stood once he wrapped up the 6-film saga.
Yeah. But of course we know that is look, I mean, we've got Starlog interviews going back to the late 70s, early 80s of George talking about 12 films. You know, George had bigger ideas, I think. But what he found, I believe, was that each trilogy, or what I should say, when he got done with each film in the original trilogy, it took such a toll on him that he realized, oh my gosh, if I commit myself to 12 of these things, I'm going to be an old man when I get done with them. At the rate, this is 1970s technology at the rate that I'm going. And so he started to walk that back a little bit about, 12 films. But it seemed with the Disney acquisition back in 2012 that this was, wow, we might actually get this. We might get the 12 films. We might get more than 12 films.
Right. Just knock them out one after another with different quirky film auteurs or flavors of the week in Hollywood or flavors of the month, and see where that leads you. And a lot of people were talked to about helming Star Wars films. We even heard recently Zack Snyder confirmed that he was actually developing a Star Wars film and had meetings about it. And it was going to be a standalone, I believe. Crazy stuff. But so here's J.J. Abrams talking to Collider about actually having a plan.
You know, I've been involved in a number of projects that have been, in most cases, series that have ideas that begin the thing where you feel like you know where it's going to go. And then sometimes it's an actor who comes in. Other times it's a relationship that as it's written doesn't quite work, and things that you think are going to just, be so well received, just crash and burn. And other things that you think like, oh, that's a little small moment, that's a one episode character, suddenly become a hugely important part of the story. And I feel like what I've learned as a lesson a few times now, and it's something that especially in this pandemic year, working with writers, the lesson is that, you have to plan things the best you can. And you always need to be able to respond to the unexpected, and the unexpected can come in all sorts of forms. And I do think that, there's nothing more important than knowing where you're going. And there are projects that I've worked on where we had some ideas, but we hadn't worked through them enough. We had sometimes we had some ideas, but then we weren't allowed to do them the way we wanted to. I've had all sorts of situations where, you plan things in a certain way, and you suddenly find yourself doing something that's 180 degrees different. And then sometimes it works really well, and you feel like, wow, that really came together. And other times you think, oh my God, I can't believe this is where we are. And sometimes when it's not working out, it's because it's what you planned. And other times when it's not working out, it's because it didn't. It's like you never really know. But having a plan, I have learned in some cases the hard way, is the most critical thing, because otherwise you don't know what you're setting up. You don't know what you're what to emphasize, because if you don't know the inevitable of the story, you're just as good as your last sequence or effect or joke or whatever, but you want to be leading to something inevitable.
Inevitable. See, you have to have the foreshadowing. You have to have the seeds getting planted along the way. That's great storytelling. You have to prime your audience along the way. And the Star Wars sequel trilogy fails in that regard because it's a game of pass the baton from film to film.
Right.
And then the plug gets pulled prematurely. Instead of coming up with maybe additional films to continue the story, they just wanted to pull the plug because they felt like they were painted into a corner and they were getting crushed under the weight and importance of the history of the saga. I think Kathleen Kennedy and Lucasfilm made the decision to stop the Skywalker saga because they felt like they were damned if they did and damned if they didn't. There was no right approach for them to take.
I struggle with this because, the whole history of JJ's involvement in Star Wars stems from this. And now I'm starting to wonder, how much of this is fiction, is this PR spin? But JJ's involvement with Star Wars began with this question, this hook that Kathleen sort of snagged him with, which was, who is Luke Skywalker? that was so famously repeated by JJ as to what really grabbed him to take on this project of bringing Star Wars back and continuing the George Lucas saga. Who is Luke Skywalker? And the difficulty I have with it is that I'm not quite sure that question was ever really answered. Certainly not by JJ. If anything, JJ punted to the next guy in episode 7. And then the next guy said, "Oh, I'll take that and I'll finish it right here." And if it really was the question of who is Luke Skywalker that brought JJ into the Star Wars universe, he never really, I don't think, in my judgment, he ever really had a chance to answer that question. I think the question was answered by someone else. And, it's kind of tragic in a way that JJ was never able to answer that.
Well, it depends on how the question was framed. Who is Luke Skywalker? ... And why does he matter? Or really?
Sure.
Or who is Luke Skywalker? ... I keep seeing this name, Luke Skywalker, popping up. I don't know nothing about Star Wars. Who is Luke Skywalker? There's Kathleen Kennedy. No.
Yeah, no, we're just having fun, folks. But you're right. I mean,
what?
Yep.
What's the framework? What's the context within that question?
For the question.
What's the question within the question?
Yeah.
There's something more to it.
Well, I mean, I think the way that we as fans interpret it, which, was who is Luke Skywalker now? Who is Luke Skywalker 30 years later after this huge accomplishment, this epic battle, this defeat of the ultimate evil? Where is he now? Who is he? What makes him tick? What relevance does he still have to the universe? Like all of those questions, I think, for us as fans, it just made our imaginations go crazy. And, I think back to how I felt. In fact, I don't have it up anymore. But when I got back after seeing Force Awakens, and I went out to Chicago to see it with Jimmy Mack, Billy Mack, and others, I came back and I had the Rey action figure and the Luke action figure, and I posed them in that iconic pose of her handing off the lightsaber to Luke, because it was such a it was such a thing to make your imagination just go crazy. Like what? Yeah,
it made an indelible mark on you.
It made such an indelible mark because it was, oh my God, this could go anywhere. This could go anywhere. And I set those action figures up on a shelf in that iconic pose of Rey handing the lightsaber to Luke. And never in my wildest dreams did it go did it go where it ended up going. And I know there are a lot of fans of the sequel trilogy listening to the show. And if that's your joy, if that's your love, that's cool. But for me, it was like, wow, that's the last thing I expected, was the rejection of, a guy that picked up his burden gladly, charged into the line of fire with his burden, never shirked responsibility, except one time when he said, it's so far away, Uncle Owen's going to be really mad. There was that moment, but that quickly got sidelined by the fact that Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru were, stormtrooper fodder. But beyond that, he never shirked responsibility as far as we knew. And then all of a sudden, we see him 30 years later, and the first thing he does is reject the call the call to action, the call to adventure. And that was so counter to the Luke Skywalker that we knew.
Well, is in you know the journey of the hero, according to Joseph Campbell, one of the biggest steps is rejecting the call. That's an ingredient in the development of the hero.
True. Yeah. True. Good point. Yeah.
You know, the hero at one point adheres to the status quo,
right,
as being the best choice.
Mm-hmm.
He has no choice, so he has to make a decision, and he makes a decision then that will put him on the path to hero-dom.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an important part, and Luke Skywalker might have been on a mini hero's journey again in The Last Jedi, leading if you want to follow that story all the way through to the rise of Skywalker, you can. People reject doing that, but I think it's worthy of following up on to see if a lot of those boxes can be checked off along the way with Luke going on a separate hero's journey. It's harder to piece it together because his motivations are so unclear. That's the foggy part about the sequel trilogy, and where the lack of planning becomes so obvious is that when you connect the dots, it almost seems like there are no dots to connect to. They just suddenly appear out of nowhere. It's like you'll be at the end of the last dot, and then all of a sudden another dot will just pop up out of nowhere. No, I better connect that. But how did that happen?
It's so true because, if Luke is taking on the Kenobi role, now we saw Luke complete his hero's journey, and look, it's not completely irregular to have to sort of reinvent yourself. So Luke Skywalker was able to succeed at something incredible at a relatively young age. And so what's the next chapter of his life going to be? And so there's going to be multiple journeys in your life that propel you, and some of them require an act of transformation in a way. I think for me with Luke, it was that we had the opportunity to see him as the Kenobi role, which is someone who hadn't lost faith, but was starting to deteriorate maybe in their physical ability, their ability to, actually get in the mix and pass the baton on to another generation. That's what I was looking forward to in the sequel trilogy as far as Luke goes.
Yeah.
And also maybe to see a really good kick-ass moment. We didn't see, we saw Luke, kind of just discovering his powers in the original trilogy, and it was like, wow, it'd be really satisfying to see Luke, have some big, a big epic moment or two in the sequel trilogy. I
thought Luke was going to serve as a patriarch to all of the younger, newer cast members, Daisy, Oscar Isaac, and John Boyega. I thought Luke Skywalker would have been this perfect patriarch for these new characters to always serve as a center point for them. He doesn't necessarily need to be in the spotlight, and you could have continued these films forever with those four cast members.
Yeah.
And throw in Chewie and R2 and 3PO and BB-8, and then you got it. That could have lasted you forever.
Yeah.
The killing off of Luke Skywalker, the pulling the plug on the Skywalker saga are white flags from Lucasfilm saying, we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And that's why the sequel trilogy hurts me so much. And why, in retrospect, it's hard for me to accept them now. And I think a lot of the fan base is going through this, whether you loved The Last Jedi or hated it. Same thing with The Rise of Skywalker, where most people hated it. But, everyone loved the Force Awakens.
Yep.
How is that film aging now for you? Has it been ruined by your dislike of the one or both of the follow-ups?
I gotta say that movie, it calls to me because to rewatch, because I just love Harrison Ford, and I love Harrison Ford as Han Solo, and that's what calls to me for that movie. When I'm looking on the shelf and I'm seeing my Star Wars films to watch, that one does jump out at me because, again, I really enjoy seeing Harrison Ford inhabit that character and show him at a, later in his life and all of that. And then I love the moment at the end because there's so much possibility with that final offer of the saber to Luke.
Yeah. And Luke looks so cool. And
Luke looks so cool. And it's I think Mark Hamill even said it was the greatest kind of like entrance that he ever had, as an actor and as a character. And you were just filled with so much hope and possibility. Yeah. He was the hope. He was sent, or Rey was sent to find him to help this epic battle against the First Order and in aid of his sister. And it was an opportunity to see them fight hand in hand, arm in arm against this malevolent dictatorship, this totalitarian regime. And we never got to see it. There was like there was no payoff. That's what I keep struggling with. There was no payoff. I feel like you had this petulant, young, full of himself director that took the reins with number 8 and was more interested in sort of inverting everything and making things play out opposite of what you thought, and then labeled that as, oh, look, aren't I being clever here?
Hey, but I mean, Ryan takes a lot of heat, but that's his style. That's what he does. That's the Rian Johnson way. Mm-hmm. The guy, he directed the best episode, arguably, of Breaking Bad. He also directed the worst episode, arguably, of Breaking Bad.
I didn't know that. I wasn't a Breaking Bad watcher, so
I understand that. I understand.
So that's interesting. So, in terms of critical and fan acclaim, he has really been on both sides of this as far as Breaking Bad goes.
Yes. I mean, generally speaking, fans love the episode he directed, Ozymandias. They dislike the episode he directed, The Fly. And like I said, arguably, I mean, that's a matter of taste. But I just want to use that as an example of how on one extreme to the other, his material can be received by a loyal fan base. And he likes to do the unexpected in his films. He likes to subvert expectations, which we've heard about him so many times. The unfortunate thing is he also likes to attack his critics and the fan base itself. But, again, that's a debatable action of his, and one that you're going to react to however you're going to react to it. But that's what Rian Johnson does. So are we going to blame him for doing what he does when given a Star Wars film? It seemed like he wanted to do the right thing. He leaned on the story group very heavily under the misdirection and interpretation of what they serve, assuming that they were basically the gospel of Star Wars, I think was a misdirection. And I don't think that the other creators of Star Wars lean on the story group like that. But
no, in fact, I think JJ was notoriously shrouded and secretive with Episode 7, and had an agenda, and relied on his bad robot production team. Whereas Ryan he was sort of the opposite of that. He was like, hey, let's, he opened his arms to the story group. He opened his arms to, and so you had kind of, two opposite extremes there. And perhaps what we were looking for is maybe something a little bit more in the middle. Maybe not someone who was quite so shunning of the story group, and then someone that wasn't quite so open-armed either, could kind of use them for what they were there for, which is to sort of maybe fact check, maybe kind of keep some alignment.
That's what they did for JJ.
Yeah.
The fact check stuff, things like that. But the story was actually developed with Rian Johnson for The Last Jedi. Between himself, it was a collaboration between himself and the story group, so much to the point where Johnson actually moved to San Francisco so he can go into weekly meetings or monthly meetings, whatever he did. And that really shaped a lot of the Last Jedi. So, and that was his approach. I mean, and then Colin Trevorrow, he had a vastly different idea of where he wanted things to go, so he was bounced. And that's where you see, the whole thing went off the rails at that point. It just couldn't be sustainable. It was a bad decision to approach the Star Wars sequel trilogy without a solid outline of a story, knowing where the beginning, the middle, and the end were all heading. You can't just make it up on the fly. Not a rich and deep saga like this, like the mythology of Star Wars. George Lucas didn't design it to work that way.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. You look at George's dedication to studying the nuts and bolts of storytelling that resonate to the core of humanity. I mean, that's what George really was doing with Star Wars. He was studying the most basic nature of storytelling and how to present that to a new generation of people, of film goers. And then it kind of gets bought up and brought in by this company that's a little bit more paint by numbers. And it could have worked, I think, if you would have had a singular vision. And I would say, in all fairness, I think JJ was offered the opportunity to be the architect of that full trilogy. But I don't think he wanted to settle down. I don't think he wanted to commit to all that time. And also, there was a template that George established, which with the original trilogy, which was that it could survive and be told by different directors. The missing link, though, is George. That's the thing. Yes, you can have different directors take on the tactical operation of creating the film, but the story, the vision, the overall architecture of it all is left up to one person. And I think that's. But I think JJ was like, well, I mean, George, he was able to get things off the ground with one movie, and then shifted directors to different films and get different visions, and it's sort of a Pollyannish view. Do you really think that Richard Marquand shaped the Star Wars saga in any significant way? No way. And really, I would argue that Irvin Kershner probably didn't in any meaningful story beat kind of way, but what he did was visually and contextually create some I think real what's the word I'm like some the characters were fleshed out in such a way because that's the way Kirsch was thinking about it. But in terms of the story beats, I don't think that he was anywhere near it. He wasn't anywhere near it.
No, George, he kept those cards close to his chest. Kurt's really worked on the human moments, the character moments,
Yes.
the personalities.
Yes.
You know, what can he get out of the actors in those moments? And that really fleshes out the characters, individually. But the big story moments are all George Lucas, yourself.
Yes. Yes. All right, moving along to the future of Star Wars, the future / the past, of course, because Star Wars is always told out of chronological order. Let's talk about some new pics that we've got from the location shooting of the Kenobi series by way of a Rebel Force Radio listener. This is exclusive stuff, folks.
Yeah, we got a new source, Agent Kitster. Agent Kitster checking in, and he sent us this picture. He says, this is a set photo from Chapter 3, Pilgrim, from the Kenobi series. So is he saying Chapter 3 is titled Pilgrim? That's going to be the third episode from the Kenobi series? I don't know. Or is Pilgrim like one of those code names for the Kenobi series?
Well, it's a good question. So let's look at the photos that he sent us. So, I wonder about this because Pilgrim.
I don't know.
I think it's actually an episode. Well, how would he know that? That's a pretty deep level detail of knowing what the episode. Because I would argue, Jim, that maybe there's some working titles here, but I don't know that they've committed to any episode titles by.
Oh, well, maybe they have. Point. I mean, these scripts are all pretty well fleshed out, and I mean, the series is shooting now. This we know, it's shooting in California, and this guy claims he knows somebody who works on the set of Kenobi, and he's sending us these photos. And by the way, everyone, we'll put these on YouTube so you can see them for yourself. But in no way, shape, or form am I able to confirm that these are actual pictures from the Kenobi set. I've reached out to some people, and I've received responses like, "Where'd you get these? Who gave you these?" And then I would respond, well, just a random listener sent it to us, and I wouldn't get any response back. So I'm trying to be totally clear and transparent with everyone. I'm not endorsing these as legit. I couldn't get confirmation on them, but Agent Kitster claims that he knows somebody working on this project and that these are actual set pictures from Kenobi, and they're very basic pictures out in the woods of huts made with branches and twigs. Is a very natural setting, very primitive in nature. These huts, it looks like there's room for a bonfire or campfire in them. It looks like there's a stone foundation, and it looks like they're still under construction. The walls are only half complete from the rooftop to about midway down these stick supports that are holding the huts up. It just looks like pieces of tree or branches. Like I said, very primitive looking, very just very real earth. There's nothing Star Wars in any of these pictures.
You don't think so? I think there's a sort of an Endor quality. I mean, that's
okay. Yeah,
hitting me.
Maybe there's an Ewok vibe going on here.
Yeah, the primitives, and of course, Star Wars storytelling always uses primitive cultures as a way to show that perhaps they're actually more powerful than the more technologically advanced. So that's sort of a Star Wars trope. So we could be looking at a culture that's a little bit more earthly bound.
Maybe. Can we fly through some more of these slides?
Mm-hmm.
Again, now here's an orange bridge crossing a stream. And this definitely looks like it could be shot somewhere in California.
Yeah.
No question about it. It feels more like Northern California to me than Southern California, where we know the Kenobi series is being shot. Or this could be shot on the volume for all we know. I mean, the technology is so insane. But it's just this weird orange bridge. Again, nothing Star Wars-y about it to me. I mean, this looks like something maybe the crew uses to get across the street.
Right. This isn't necessarily something that we're going to see on screen.
I mean, yeah. Again, these are so random and out there. I just don't even know if we're being played or what. Now, this looks like a miniature set of terrain very similar to what we saw in the prior two photos. The photo with the hut and everything. This looks like very similar terrain, very similar environment to where you might find the foresty hut. There's something there in the center. Do you see it there, Jason? It looks like a formation there, and it almost looks similar to what we see in The Mandalorian Season 2, Chapter 6, the one with Boba Fett, when the Mando puts Grogu on the Force rock.
Ah, right. Yes.
Do you see what I'm saying? Do you see what I'm pointing at? Right there in the center, it looks like these stone trails lead to it.
Yes.
Right there. It's
yes.
Kind of a similar formation. The round, the Stonehenge.
Yeah. All the trails sort of lead to this central location in this forest environment. Yes. So you have stone trails or rock trails that lead to this sort of central something.
And in the back, there's some formation. It looks like it could be a type of dam, or it looks like it could be maybe like an Imperial complex or something. That looks kind of Star Wars-y to me. It almost looks like there's gun turrets there on the side, like laser cannons, perhaps. So that could be Star Wars-y, but that's a miniature set. Again, or this could be something some joker is using for his model railroad set in his basement.
I was just going to say, this is a Lionel train set. Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. Again, we could be getting played. We're not buying this necessarily from Agent Kitster, but it's interesting nonetheless. Maybe it is real. And if it is real, then jackpot for us. But here we got what looks like it may be the opposite side of the very model we were just looking at. And you see what appears to be a bunch of branches acting as a wall on the other side of that dam.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably what it is a dam. So just
and of course you see
perspective.
some real world things in the background to sort of put it in context. See like a pail or a bucket. I think it's like a backpack and maybe some chairs lined up back
folding
there.
chairs.
Yeah. So you get a sense of the scale of it for sure. Another shot of it, similar to what we saw before. But yeah, Jim, I see what you're talking about. That central location that could be. I mean, you might expect that it could be something, special or hallowed or what have you.
Is there any way we could zoom in? Can we zoom in on that?
Let me see if we can.
Do we have the technology?
This is something I cannot do.
Okay, well
that's
okay.
I cannot zoom in. But
somebody can freeze frame this. You do a screen grab and then you zoom in on it with your own software.
For sure. And of course, if you're watching this on your Apple TV or your Roku or something like that, you're going to see this pretty big.
All right. What else?
All right. Another angle of this same configuration,
same model. Yeah. But it looks like I said, similar to the environment that we saw those actual life-size sets. And so it looks like the Kenobi film series is definitely going to be leaving Tatooine and venturing to this wooded area based on what we're seeing here.
There's one we didn't get to. Now this is
another shot of the life-size hut.
The life-size hut, but this appears to be some sort of, I don't know what this is underneath here. That might be something
like a place to build a fire.
Yep. That's what.
And then they have a wheelbarrow there, bringing in more stones to build up the fire pit. And you could see like maybe a bunch of tribal elders would be sitting in a circle around this thing. Maybe Obi-Wan comes, joins them, takes a puff of their peace pipe, and they rap to him about some sort of information he needs. about baby Grogu.
Who knows? Yeah. But there you go. We'll see. I mean, like you said, either this is, we're being punked, or this is a great scoop for us here at Rebel Force Radio from Agent Kitster, potentially picks from the Kenobi. Look, we know that the series is in front of cameras right now. We know that production is underway. So, hey, why not? Why not? We're the number one Star Wars podcast in all of the galaxy, so it's not that far fetched to assume that maybe somebody that's close to the production there is sending us these photos. But that's great. I mean, no real spoilers here, so we're just looking at some environments that might potentially be used. But it's a heck of a lot of fun. Hey, let's take a brief time out and thank our good friends at Raycon. I don't know about you, but I've got multiple places that I plan to hit this summer, things that we might have moved from our plans last year into this year. So whether you're going to visit grandma who maybe you haven't had a chance to see in a while, or maybe take that summer vacation that you punted last summer into this summer. It doesn't matter whether it's for work or play. A lot of us are going to be on the move again this summer. So here's my advice to you. Take your Raycons with you.
Yes, I take my Raycons with me everywhere I go, Jason, whether it's hitting the beach or hitting my front porch and sipping on some cool lemonade with my Raycons. Wireless earbuds make all the difference in the world with crisp, powerful beats. I love my beats extremely crisp and extremely powerful, Jason. I listen to a lot of music, I really do. And the Raycon earbuds sound absolutely fantastic, and they're half the price of your typical other premium audio brands. They look great, they feel great, they come in a range of cool colors, and this is the thing I like a lot about them, because a lot of people complain to me. I never am able to find the earbuds that work for me because they just don't fit right. They just don't work with my ear. The thing that's great about Raycons, customizable gel tips. You have a choice now. You can choose whether you want a tight fit or a loose fit and find the perfect fit. Quick and seamless Bluetooth pairing, and a great and durable compact charging case.
So listen up. Raycon is offering 15% off. That's 15% off all their products for Rebel Force Radio listeners. And here's what you got to do to get that deal. Go to buyraycon.com/RFR. That's BUY Raycon, RAYCON.com/RFR. There you'll get 15% off your entire Raycon order. It's such a good deal that you'll want to grab a pair and a spare, maybe for dad. Father's Day's coming up. 15% off at buyraycon.com/RFR. Buyraycon.com/RFR. And we appreciate their support of us here at Rebel Force Radio so very much.
Star Wars Cantina.
Where are you going, Master? For a drink.
Sorry about the mess.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
Ladies and gentlemen, returning to Rebel Force Radio, let's welcome back Gecko the Bounty Hunter from The Mandalorian, actor Dominic Pace.
I think the last time we spoke to you, Dominic, it was right at the beginning of this insanity. As it was starting. And you were still doing, well, what you're about to do now, which is hit the road. At that time, Well, I mean, and let's be honest. Local businesses, small business, are still having a lot of trouble. A lot of them haven't made it. We're almost a year out from probably the deepest part of the shutdown, and here you are going to go out finally on the trail again. What can you tell us about your upcoming appearances?
Well, if we can go back to last year, I didn't expect the success for the tour to have as it ended up playing out. I was able to raise over $25,000 for small business, combined with working alongside the amazing charitable organizations of the 501st Legion, the Mandalorian Mercs, as well as the Rebel Legion. We raised close to $5,000 for charity. I thought it was a beautiful message that was sort of parallel to so many of Disney's teachings, so many of Dave's teachings. And we have these beautiful proverbs before the Clone Wars and Rebels in regards to believing in yourself. And sometimes with even the smallest package, amazing things can happen. I visited over 50 different comic book stores. And the one thing also was feeling the energy and the positivity of Star Wars. It wasn't necessarily people there for Gecko, but it was people just coming together for something, one common denominator that we can all agree upon. And that's the beautiful positivity of Star Wars, which has inspired so many, including my heart, in a million different ways over the last 45 years in my life. I've just been so grateful for the opportunity. What ended up happening was, it was infectious. The connection that I had with the fan base, I've just extended myself in so many different ways to the charitable organizations. Also being a lifelong Star Wars fan and believing in this bounty hunter, wanting to see this bounty hunter prosper throughout the series, whether it's live action, animation, through the video games or merchandise. I was so incredibly passionate. One of the editors of Marvel Star Wars Bounty Hunters reached out, and he said he wanted to get Gecko in one of the issues there in April. Unfortunately, it didn't work out. Lucasfilm had certain plans for all the characters of Mandalorian, and some of the fans reached out, and this was around Christmas time. And I didn't know if the industry was going to be back up again. And I had such a positive effect with the entire fan base that some of the fans reached out and they said, well, what about a potential fan fiction comic where you sell just your autograph and you're not selling the fan fiction comic? So I said, sign me up. And there were people around the world, literally, who came together to put this fan fiction comic together. Lucasfilm reached out last week and they said, look, we appreciate everything that you're doing. Just if you can just hand that out complimentary. And I obliged 110%. The one thing I wanted to do, and I think people in all different businesses can relate, is to just be on the map, to be recognized. That, sometimes when you work hard, there's a situation right now in our schools where I don't feel like the education system sometimes puts a little bit more accountability on ourselves. I have two sons, one who went with me last year, who was 12. My older one, Dante, is 16. And the biggest lesson I want to teach to them is you got to believe in yourself. And sometimes life isn't going to be handed to you. You've got to go out and get it. So I think Gecko has so many beautiful parallels to what everyone is going through now in life. And it's an example that I want to set for the kids. And at the same time, I think Disney can run with it. Disney, I think they just had that great little segment right now where they had the flyovers of different universes on Disney+. And one other sort of suggestion that I would give to Disney+ is perhaps a documentary section, first starting with the legends like Carrie and Peter and Kenny Baker, but also perhaps Gecko in quotes, a Star Wars story where we didn't have a life. We were left for dead in Navarro, but sometimes when you believe in yourself and you give back to the community and you help others through believing, in not only your own endeavors, but also in theirs, I think a lot of beautiful things can happen. Happy to announce that in December, they're blessing me with one license piece, but we want the keys. I just, with Jeremy Bulloch and also Alan Harris, would be such a dream to follow in their footsteps and be an amazing ambassador for the rest of my life. Episodes 1 and 3, you can only do so much. It's like having the same dance move in the 90s on the dance floor. I can only play on that. We can only do the Running Man so much from episode 1 and 3. I
want to back up and ask, because you brought up, a couple of legends, including Jeremy Bulloch. And what in Jeremy, at one point in time, believe it or not, as many of our younger listeners may not realize, that at one point that was Jeremy Bulloch as Boba Fett was a character that had less than 5 minutes of total screen time across the original trilogy, yet he endured. So we'll ask you the same question that we asked Jeremy Bulloch, rest his soul, which is, why is Gecko? Why do you think that Gecko is is taking off in a sense that the fans are drawn to the character and want to see more of that character when he was such a background character. And I say background character, that's all relative when it comes to Star Wars, because we know in Star Wars there are no background characters. Well, why Gecko?
I think there's a lot of parallels in general to the bounty hunters, especially now at this time in our country. Bounty hunter, to me, the parallels to it, and I think you could do a movie of it almost like Venom, to where it's the blue-collar worker. It's a single mom trying to get by, trying to figure out the next way that they're going to get their paycheck. So I think, in general, just the bounty hunter concept alone has resonated in such a firm way with society. I think there's just something interesting in terms of the attention to detail, and that starts with Lucas's original team, now pouring over to Kennedy and Filoni and to Favreau in regards to the attention to detail. Joseph Porro nominated for an Emmy Award. Again, they spent 2 hours on me with that secondary background character, as well as Brian Sipe. The attention to detail makes you want to know, where are they coming from? Where are they going? I think that type of specificity, and then also at the same time, I think my generosity in terms of extending myself to the fan base as well as the charitable organizations, also having an extensive resume as an actor. I think that all resonates really well. But being really there for the fans in every single way that I can. I don't charge for selfies. There were so many charitable organizations who said, hey, can you send a video to a children's hospital? Can you send a video to my son? He's going through a hard time. Without even question, it was just such an honor to be a part of something that's positive. Look, Hollywood right now, there's so many political and social issues going on, but the one common denominator we can all come together with is Star Wars. I think it's just one of the few that just has that beautiful aspect where everyone can choose, their favorite character or their favorite storyline, and it inspires them in a positive way, almost like the Mr. Rogers of sci-fi. And to be a part of that, I think, is such an honor. But I think a lot of the energy comes from Lucasfilm, but also I've extended myself over the last 2 years in ways that, you can't imagine. And by August, this will be a total of 50,000 miles from land and air, from England, Anchorage, Alaska, Hilo, Hawaii, just because I believe in the brand, I believe in the fans, and it's something I want to be a part of the rest of my life.
I draw a lot of parallels between your embrace of being a Star Wars ambassador and the rise in popular of the character Gecko by the fan base. I compared a lot to the efforts Ashley Eckstein made to really nurture the fan base for Ahsoka, because Ahsoka was very disliked when she debuted, extremely so. And we saw the potential in that character, but we also were very charmed by Ashley Eckstein and the way that she didn't elevate herself over the fan base. She embraced it and really became an important cog in the wheel for all of that stuff. Sure. At the same time, we saw the rise in pop culture conventions and all of that stuff. And so the timing was just right. But Lucas, they didn't realize what they were going to get with Ashley. They hit oil with her, and it's still paying dividends all these years later. And here you are throwing yourself out there, hitting the road. Oh, Jason just put a picture of you and me, Dominic, on the screen. I don't know if you can see that. But
yes, I can, yes.
That's, I think that's the first time I ever left my house with a mask on. A face mask, and I did it to see you.
I think it was. I remember you saying, well, if anything's going to bring me out of the house and put on a mask, it's Star Wars.
And that was a great day, Dominic. We were at Alley Cat Comics in the Andersonville neighborhood. And you were there, and there was a constant stream of fans and 501st and Star Wars fans and Babu freaks, and everyone was there. And we're going to do it again this summer, right?
We're excited. July 10th back at Alley Cat there. And again, as I mentioned, I cut out the middleman. I give the straight 15% right to the stores, no questions asked. Just going back to Ashley and also the fan base, one element I think that I add as well as part of the equation is we talked about it briefly the last time I was on the show in regards to what, people call the toxic fan base. For me, like we equated it to your beloved White Sox. I think a lot of these fans are passionate. Again, I could talk, as a Met fan with Matt Harvey or what have you, say, this and that. I have an issue with this storyline or that storyline for my team. But at the same time, for me, I view a lot of the toxicity in many ways, with the exception of bullying any of the actors, as passion, because you care about this franchise so much. So I think the fans sort of fed off that. the one other thing that was really emotional along the tour is I can't tell you. I mean, I think you know how many millions and millions of fans would love to be part of this franchise, and I can't tell you how many people came out creating their own fan art of Gecko and supporting my dream. And I just couldn't do enough in return to pay that favor forward. Yeah, I mean, dealing with the fan base, I think, you know, there's certain actors where they are a little more standoffish. For me, the same way, I just embrace it. I can have a conversation with somebody for 10 to 15 minutes about maybe a side character or a side story just because I'm a genuine fan and I love it. And I think that's where we sort of attracted so much of a crowd that I wanted to go out and campaign. Season 2, unfortunately, you know, didn't work out. And that was the thing. I didn't want to say goodbye. I didn't want to quit. You know, and there were a few things that fell through. Funko Pop really wanted him. You know, obviously Marvel kind of fell through there. But I just wanted to give one more shot. You can go to casting, you can go to production, and it's like, you know, Styles from Teen Wolf. You know, yeah, go put the keg in the back with 20 other million actors, you know, where you've got a stack of headshots a million times high. I said, I want to do something different. I want to do a reverse audition where I'm going to gain the fan base. I'm going to show you my commitment as opposed to some simple email that your agent sends or your manager sends. I'm not going to be tagging John or Dave. I'm just going to show them. And I had a beautiful message there from LFL because I said, you know, is this resonating in any way? And they said they're watching and they appreciate everything that I've been doing. Yeah, that's a Funko Pop that somebody created. The fan art has been absolutely amazing. Ideally, we'd love to be the blue snaggletooth, the Amon, the yak face of Mandalorian. But at the same time, now with everything expanding within the universe tenfold by next year, I want to have Gecko be up there with Forlom and with Boss. I believe in him. I think a lot of his powers are something unique. You know, ILM, they work with sound so much. I believe his blaster has a different sound. Those are gauntlets from the Pike Sentinels from Solo. I believe, you know, just like Beskar, I think they do something very special. I would love to share the food. I used to be part of Tim Robbins' a company called the Actors Gang, and sharing the food means sharing the spotlight with another actor. I don't think that Gecko would have my voice. I think they've done so many amazing things with sound, whether it's a voice or whether it's something like a seismic charge, to where I would even love to share it with somebody who has a bass voice, maybe an African-American, a strong bass, almost like Michael Clark Duncan, to where he speaks Huttese or he speaks a different language never heard of before. I think there's a specific reason why he was flanking Grief Karga so closely, and I'd love them to expand upon that, and I'm doing everything I possibly can to show my commitment. The industry's back, thank God. Booked Days of Our Lives. I also booked a Netflix show on my block. I love playing the cops. I love playing the guards, and I'm very fortunate to work. But I think of that old movie from Twilight Zone where they had that one little episode with the senior citizens, and it was called Kick the Can, I believe. And there was that one old man who said, you know, he wanted to be a child again. And I think every fan, everyone from the charitable organizations can relate. He says, you know, please take me with you. And it's almost like Mary Poppins, where you have all these paintings on the floor. You know, you have crime dramas, you have mafia, you have the Star Wars universe. I want to go with them.
That's great, man. Hey, you know, despite the fact you weren't in season 2 of The Mandalorian, we know Gecko was off on some other adventure somewhere in the galaxy. But we also know Dominic Pace is a huge Star Wars fan. And I would like to just get some thoughts from you about the return of Luke Skywalker at the season finale of season 2 of The Mandalorian.
Well, I remember it like it was yesterday. You know, Santa Claus, we believed in Santa back in 1983 in Yonkers, New York, in my grandparents' house on Croydon Road. And opening up, my mom got me all the figures. You know, my dear friend Steve Constantino, who plays the Gamorrean Guard. I had Weequay, and of course that coveted piece. And it's so funny now with the phones and with, you know, all social media, etc. I was in the corner room, which is where my sister and I would sleep for probably 3 or 4 hours with Jabba the Hutt's palace, and also at the same time with that beloved figure of Luke. And to see him in his black and see him in the action that we were all used to. The first time I ever heard an applause was him on the skiff in 1983. You know, after the battle, it was just amazing. Dave and John, they have their finger on it. Kathleen Kennedy has their finger on it. They know what makes you know, the fan base tick. They know how to bring the fan base together. It's just about escapism again. I always go back to that old movie there with Up. You know, where the boy is just kind of bright-eyed and, you know, watching Star Wars, watching Goonies, watching Back to the Future. That's what entertainment is about. That's what Hollywood should be about. And we're all so grateful. It was his birthday yesterday. And again, I just couldn't think of a better man in charge in terms of giving that level of escapism that we all love so much. Again, it's sort of a throwback to when we were kids, watching amazing stories, the magic of Spielberg, Zemeckis, James Cameron, George Lucas, even Joe Dante I'll throw in there. But just having that magic of escapism, which I think the country needs more than anything right now. And obviously the ending of season 2 is just gorgeous. And I can't wait to see what the future holds for the Star Wars universe.
Dominic, I think you're talking to us from a different room than the last time because your display case looks much more packed, I think. I think this is a different memorabilia display case. Is there any way you could give us a little tour of it like you did last time? Because I'm seeing a lot of new stuff. I'm seeing some customized 3 3/4 inch. What do you got there?
There was just a collector actually who wanted and gave me an offer I couldn't refuse for the last piece. So we ended up getting it to him in Sioux City, Iowa. Again, just the customs were just amazing. It's just sort of a compliment to the fans in terms of how supportive they have been. You've got everything from the throwback vintage that the fans have created to a Funko Pop. Again, Funko Pop is really excited about it. They have an issue just in terms of international sales. Let's face it. I completely agree. Nobody knows who Gecko is in China. I'm not huge in China yet.
Give you time. Give you time.
It's sort of suggestive. You've got everything from a mini Lego figure there. And then also at the same time, you've got your Black Series right over here as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm so sorry. There's a delay here.
It's all right.
But yeah, they've just been absolutely so supportive in so many ways. I don't know what the numbers were on the sequel trilogy merchandise in terms of the secondary characters. But with Mandalorian, they hit a home run. I remember, seeing on Twitter, somebody was even creating a 96 card back, a 96 figure card back of season 1 and season 2 of The Mandalorian. And, it's just when you hit a home run, the fans are going to come. And I think, and I'm not knocking the sequel trilogy, but also at the same time, you obviously see what happened with with Mandalorian and just how the fans kind of came out of their woodwork there.
I will say, we observed on the show many times that it seemed as though the licensees did not embrace the background characters of the sequel trilogy like they did so famously with certainly the original trilogy. That it was the original trilogy and the spotlight that the licensees and the merchandise shone on those characters that pulled them out of the shadows and put them in virtually every kid's toy box and bedroom. Yeah. And there's never really been anything quite like that. I don't think it's never been replicated in terms of how the characters just jumped off the screen and into our lives, regardless of how much screen time they had.
That's correct. Yeah. Respectfully, I just think the sequel trilogy might have scaled things back a little bit. Some of the fan base might have been indifferent, but there's no question that The Mandalorian was a home run. That's been part of the reason, for my campaign is just, understanding the power of that 1985 series. I got one left to go, by the way, EV99. And I was just saying in an interview that, it's almost like that Kylo Ren line where I don't know if I have the strength to do it. It's like $600 for a loose figure. It's like, anyone who's married can totally relate that you don't know if you can, punch it there to finish out the set. But again,
wait. So wait. Am I to gather that you're working on your full vintage collection and EV99 is one that you don't have?
That's the last one. That's it. I just got Loose Luke Stormtrooper. Some of the replications, like their helmet, I'm not going to go crazy over. I'm not paying $150 for a Kenner blaster. If it's a replica, I'll do it.
I'm with you, man. I love here's the thing. If you're a purist and you have to have the authentic original, more power to you. It's great. But I don't want to have to pay $150 for a little plastic blaster so that I can display my vintage character or figure. Like, I love having the option. Some people go crazy because they don't like all of this, third-party reproduction stuff out there. But you can tell if you're a skilled collector and you've been around the block a few times, you can tell what it is. So it's not threatening anybody.
Yeah, I was just talking to Daniel Logan because he's a big collector and he has a vinyl Jawa actually carded. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. How much is that? But I said, well, how can you tell? Because, once it starts getting up towards, $5,000 to $10,000 or any scams, and there's so many little things that the true collectors can find, even with the replica weapons, in terms of whether it's real or not. It's absolutely amazing. But yeah, I just want to get the basic figures, know that it's at least the 1985 body of it, and then if it's a cape or what have you, that's a replica.
That's right.
It's for, it's for my sons there. So
I didn't know Logan got a carded vinyl cape Jawa. I had no idea. Well, I just didn't. I just, I worry about that little bugger in Daniel's hands. I do. I don't. Yikes! Those things are rare.
I think Jimmy Mack is volunteering to maybe keep the vinyl cape Jawa so that it's safe from any misfortune that might befall it.
Yeah,
it was his birthday this week too. So happy birthday, Daniel.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, I'm going to have to have a talk with him about this vinyl cape Jawa because this is a revelation to me.
Yeah, his collection was amazing. He's embraced me with open arms. I invited him to a gifting suite up here in LA, and then I just had a little live sale, before I started this campaign, and we took off to Hawaii there. But he's been like a brother in so many ways. We can't wait for the contour. And again, I just want to make sure that Gecko extends himself a little bit. I'm one of those where also on the flip side, and not to be pessimistic, but also there's a time where you have to exit stage left. But I'm confident there's going to be a future in Gecko, and confident of this good news come December there. And like I said, we'll be out on the road from June 19th to October 23rd, and just can't tell you how grateful I am for everyone's love and support there.
Dominic, what is the website that people can go to sort of get a sense of the itinerary and where you're going to be and when? Is there?
Sure. Thank you so much. Right now, we're just using social media. We have Dominic Pace 1 on Instagram, Lair of the Gecko on Facebook, and also Gecko the Hunter on Twitter. And I update it weekly there with just different appearances and such. And again, everyone's been so supportive. The 501st usually comes out, the Mandalorian mercs. The one thing also, like I said, these people hadn't seen each other for some time during COVID. So it was just so great. I can't tell you the good that these people do within their communities, completely complimentary. They kid up. Even when 110-degree weather, to make a child smile. And that inspires me every single day, not only as a performer, but also just to be a member of their community. They made me an honorary member. On top of this frame is honorary membership from the Mandalorian Mercs, 501st Legion and Rebel Legion. And every one of my showings there, more or less, they've come out to show their love and support. And I've been just returning it the favor as the best I can to all of them. And I'm taking my son with me for 2.5 weeks. He's 16 years old. And my heart breaks for a lot of these kids. They were holed up for an entire year. Mm-hmm. So we're going to catch up on about 10 different vacations from San Antonio, Corpus Christi, as far north as Bismarck, taking them to Springfield, Illinois. I just finished the Lewis and Clark Journal, so we're going to hit some of those museums along the way in Missouri as well as North Dakota.
It's educational too. I love this. So you're bringing the 16-year-old on this tour with you. What a great father-son bonding opportunity that is. Dominic, obviously you're making quite a splash within the Star Wars community, but you're also a working actor, and you mentioned a couple of projects that you recently booked. Give folks a sense of what life has been like with this in this period for an actor like yourself. I would imagine that things got a little dry there for a while when things were locked down. And how did you deal with that? What was your way of coping throughout this crazy year?
I think, everyone's love of Star Wars coming together in that regard. Going back to the parallels of the bounty hunter, finding a way and not being Pedro, not being Gina, but almost maybe being the hero that a lot of the small businesses and the fan base needed, because us 99%ers couldn't find work either. Didn't know what was going to happen in terms of your business being shut down. And to come together as a country, again, through not only our love of Star Wars, but also a passion as just being, I'm the son of an Italian immigrant, but so many different cultures coming together and finding a way. And that's what we did. And how beautiful it is to go throughout these small neighborhoods, as small as Fort Dodge, Iowa, Wichita, Kansas, and just come together as a community in terms of support, because I needed them just as much, to be honest. So that's how we coped. There's a quick scene with me in episode 3, holding the tracking fob at the at the bar, knowing that baby Grogu is maybe on the loose. To me, there's just so many parallels to that as the working actor of how am I going to find my next job? How am I going to find a way? And the same thing was set up this year through the supports of the fans in regards to the fan fiction, but coming together through those small businesses. And again, maybe being the hero for the small businesses as I'm able to relate, as opposed to some of these big stars. No disrespect to Madonna, but they're sitting there on the Zoom saying, hey, we're all one. Well, there's 60,000 homeless. We got people losing their businesses. You're singing Kumbaya to these people. I'd rather just give the cash right in their hand, shut the hell up, or get the hell out and give $1 million to the person down the freaking street. So
right.
They just
you want to make a real difference. That's right. You want to make a real difference. Yeah. Go give that scratch that you just got for that gig, to the guy that just lost his business. You'll make a real difference.
That was it. That was it. And I can't tell you how grateful I was. And also what the appearances created was foot traffic. Then who was following suit, and again, I don't need to take credit for it, was Ray Park, Lou Ferrigno, Sam Jones, even a smaller actor from the Back to the Future series, creating that foot traffic for the small businesses. I completely disagree. No disrespect to anyone who has a different opinion, but this whole essential, non-essential, you're going to keep the big businesses open, the big boxes. You got to open those small businesses as well. We did everything in a safe and sanitary fashion, but you got to think about the backbone of this country, who are the working man and the working woman, where we can't sit in our $12 million home and tell you how we're all with you, or, an award show where they're losing ratings year after year because you're disconnected to us. So That was the thing. That's how we did it. But we did it as a family. And again, I just can't tell you how grateful I am. And it's something that I want to be a part of the rest of my life in regards to that love that, I received, but also I gave it back as much as I could.
Well said, Dominic. I really appreciate that. And I appreciate you taking this tour, because it's like just when you roll into town, Star Wars rolls into town too, because you do get that fan support. And that's what makes Star Wars so much fun. That's the most important thing about Star Wars is the fan base, in my opinion. And they really come out for you. And again, like I said, I'm looking forward to being out there to see you in Chicago at Alley Cat Comics. I know a lot of Star Wars fans from the local area will be around. I'd love to get Swank out for this.
What?
But yeah. We're talking July 11th. And you should come on out, Jason. We can hang and have a good old time.
You never know.
Babu Freaks will be there.
I need a vacation real bad. And like
Jason
anything would
like
qualify.
He needs to hit the road and get some Star Wars fun happening.
I don't know if you were there when you saw. We had the 4 Mercs, the Mandalorian helmets, where they were represented of all 4 teams of Chicago. They must be a staple over there in Chicago. But my son, he's 12 years old, and we just got such a kick out of it. But again, just to add to that positivity, people, being holed up and such, that's not what America is about. We had to come out, and we did it in a safe fashion. We were out in an open courtyard. I was out in open space more often than not, or we had a regulated amount of people, traffic coming in. But anyway, we can keep that money flowing for everyone in our country. And I was just so happy to be a small ambassador to that.
Yeah. You saw the Mando mashups. They're local Chicago favorites. And those guys were all over Star Wars Celebration Chicago. Good friends of mine, Sean and Alfie and the gang over there at the Mando mashups. Good guys. Blackhawks vet, Chicago Bears vet, Chicago Cubs vet, Chicago White Sox vet. Yeah. And I think Chris Mocht is part of that crew. Chris Mocht is a Star Wars fan documentarian who did a documentary called The Force Within Us and The Force Among Us. And he's all the Among Us movies are Chris's. But Jason puts up the Meet Gecko tour for small businesses.
It's the first quarter. And of course, go to Lair of the Gecko or Gecko the Hunter, and you'll see the rest remaining there all the way through August 23rd. We head east, as far east as Danvers, Massachusetts. We're going as far south as Miami, and then going to do a little crisscross all the way back up to Boise, Idaho. But we've got about 50 stops in between. Jimmy and Jay, we're also going to be working with a lot of the charities through the charitable organizations. Again, Make-A-Wish Foundation. We have one of our Star Wars brothers there, Tom Kane, who's not going through a good time. We're going to try to help him in Sioux City, Iowa. So we're going to try to come together again. The one thing I hope is this isn't just Gecko's journey, but I hope a journey for so many. The one thing also that I've been pointing out is that Gecko is his own species. He's his own unique person. My son is coming into his own at 16 years old. And the one thing that I hope after all this is said and done is to be an inspiration for a lot of kids who are their own unique kind of person, their own unique species, their own unique type of soul. And I hope to be an ambassador for that as well, and spread as much good as I possibly can to show my appreciation again for being such a little small part, but hopefully a very big part of this.
That's a pretty small fraternity of Star Wars characters that are of an unknown, unique species. I can only think of two. That's you and Yoda. So, or at least a species that hasn't been named. We'll put it that way.
There was a book that was coming out that was going to probably explain a lot of that stuff. And now I understand the book has been shelved. It was going to be a visual dictionary.
It has, but again, part of Gecko's story, I think, again, is sort of Disney related in that we came from nothing. They didn't have many expectations, but we sort of self-motivated this along with the fans. So we hope that he's going to have a great future. But again, as far as even season 2 or the continuation of it, they didn't have the plans. We motivated it, and I hope it's going to be a beautiful, happy ending there.
So, we're all hoping that. So what, I know you can't say exactly, but you've got a little glimmer in your eye as if maybe you know something we don't. So can you at least say that are you able to say that we haven't seen the last of Gecko yet when it comes to official licensed Star Wars?
That's correct. Yeah. So we'll have our first license piece, and I think if anything,
that's huge.
Even if it's to exit at that point and just say thank you and have this license piece be a story of Gecko the bounty hunter in terms of perseverance, helping others through this time. Even that alone, I think, is going to be beautiful. But come December and January, we're going to have that announcement, and I just can't tell the fan base how appreciative I am of their support through that. With that rollout, we're also going to cosplay Gecko for a couple of appearances. We're hoping through Celebration as well. The 501st Legion, they're very passionate about their CRLs, their costume list there. So they're working on it right now in terms of all the detail of Gecko, and I'm going to suit up myself to roll this thing out.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, the 501st, they have very high standards. I wasn't familiar with that term, the CRLs. Costume regulation list. I don't know. Something like that.
Costume reference list. Yeah.
Costume reference list. So in order for you to be allowed to portray a character officially as a member of the 501st, you have to pass inspection. And so do you know if there have been Geckos approved to be in the 501st? Or are you going to be the first?
No, there's a gentleman in Omaha who's working on it pretty aggressively there. I think I have a July 4th appearance at Krypton Comics in Omaha, and I think that's going to be sort of the not so much of a surprise, but I think that he's the one that's working on it specifically. Joseph Porro, the Emmy-nominated wardrobe costume designer, a couple of people have reached out to him to get just a few more details because it needs to be screen accurate.
Right.
Gecko, he's seen here and there, but everything from even the back of the belt to the back of the boots, etc. So we're just kind of asking him for some of the behind-the-scenes photo can. So
and how much? Dominic, how much recall do you have of those wardrobe pieces? Are you able to, when you see cosplayers, you're able to say, that's close, but maybe a little this, a little of that?
Very vivid. Again, people that were passionate with creating him as a figure, even the Black Series, I worked with them extensively in regards to the gauntlets, which again were Pike's Sentinels gauntlets from Solo. So they had an accurate photo description of that. The belt was about a 6-inch thick leather belt that went around and buckled in the back. We had light brown boots. We had a bandolier that held almost like the shotgun shells. And then the one thing we're trying to narrow down is also the face mask with the 2 tubes. And, of course, the blaster behind me is pretty much 100% accurate with a paintball canister in the back. And there's a gentleman by the name of Clint Williams from Sacramento who was able to track all that detail down. And I think it's available. So one of the fans created a 3D printed, or not 3D printed, but something on Etsy there for any people who would like to cosplay it there.
It's such a cool-looking character. In addition to the fact that you have just made such an incredible impact on the fan base just by putting yourself out there the way you do. We certainly got a lot of great feedback the other times you've been on Rebel Force Radio. People just really love what you're doing, Dominic. But the fact the character is just so darn cool looking also makes him very attractive.
6'4", we think about video games in regards to maybe having little agility, but the power of, say, Kane Hodder, sort of a Jason from, Friday the 13th, to where he has that ability, that power. I'd like to believe that because the blaster is an extra, 2 times the size of a normal blaster, again, I'm really bent on, sort of having that special sound and also a special power to it. And also being 6'4", 260 pounds. Clancy did such an amazing job. I think it was episode 5 of season 1. But to have that imposing size, but also be kind of a guy's guy. I think Boba and Zuckuss and Forlom are around 5'10" or what have you. But to have sort of that imposing sort of presence. And in terms of personality, I sort of attribute him to almost like a Frankenstein, to where he might be, harsh on the outside, but maybe have some empathy on the inside, sort of a balance like most bounty hunters have.
Wow. Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about what makes Gecko tick. What would motivate? Is he just purely motivated by profit, or does he have a family? What do we think his backstory is? This is just purely hypothetical, of course. It can't possibly be canon. We're just Star Wars fans talking. But as a guy who actually wore all that stuff, what kind of backstory did you give him personally?
It's not a Queen Amidala ship. It's similar to going around the country. And again, I think there's a beautiful movie here in terms of the parallels of sort of living here on Earth, and also the parallels of the bounty hunter sort of having the same type of parallel life in the Star Wars universe. It's not a great ship. It's not, it's not Queen Amidala's. In the fan fiction comic, there was a gentleman of 501st who created something that was similar to the Tiberian, but where it had sort of almost like a cargo on the bottom that was similar to something you would put on the back of a truck. They called it the Scythe. Rusty around the edges, working for both the Rebels as well as the Empire. And again, similar to the parallels of you got to do what you got to do in life. Sometimes you make the right decisions. Sometimes you make the wrong decisions. But everything you can do to get by. I do believe that he certainly has a little bit of empathy inside him. I think to establish that within the universe would make a lot more of a better story, as opposed to just evil and demeaning. And I think there's something always very interesting about those characters, almost like a Lenny from Of Mice and Men, to where, he's big and imposing, but at the same time, they have a little bit of a change of heart in certain ways. I think that adds the 3 dimensions as opposed to just evil and imposing. I'd love to believe Hatiz. I don't think he has my voice. I would love to share it with an actor, perhaps maybe from another culture. I love sounds. Again, with the Death Troopers having that unique sound of their voice, or again, that little ball that protrudes from Jabba's palace, and also we saw it in season 1 of The Mandalorian, but to have that deep, low octave, similar to Kylo, to where he has that sort of powerful presence, or maybe a sound that we haven't heard before, but something a little bit different. I was a little disappointed in the most respectful way of season 2, where, the Weequay-like bartender, I think every different character and species, I always saw them as maybe having a different language. Maybe they're doing it obviously for the kids and also for foreign sales, where it's just easier, so it portrays, it's easier to play out in every single country. But I would love to see a little bit of the subtitles there for Gecko.
I agree with you so much, because that adds such the exotic quality, which is what George Lucas was going for in 1977. And if film goers of 77 weren't too challenged by aliens having exotic languages, I think fans in the year 2021 can fully accept it as well. But that's a really deep answer you gave me about Gecko. When I'm thinking like boxers or briefs kind of answer, you really got deep into it. But no, boxers or briefs for Gecko.
Jimmy, on day 1, they misplaced my mask. And the one thing to me is layers. I wasn't selfish with FaceTime. I wanted to have that extra layer in terms of maybe perhaps having more of a backstory as to why he needs the mask on most planets as well. And Chris Bartlett, we've been talking, he played Zero. He's a big actor there with the Star Wars universe. And John specifically loves attention to detail. Even when you're setting up for a starring role in a film, supporting role in a film, you want attention to detail. And that's something I'd be more than happy to offer to Lucasfilm there.
So for a while there, Gecko didn't have that mask on? Is that what you're saying? Or you were just
so they placed
visible?
Yeah, they placed everyone in the cantina on day one. George Lucas was there, Kathleen Kennedy, and the assistant to wardrobe misplaced my mask. And I said respectfully, if you guys can find that, because originally we had the screen test with the face mask, and I said I would still love to have that. Again, just thinking also for the merchandise, for the character, the figures that we love so much have that layer of detail, and that's why Lucasfilm is so magical in that regard, because it's that attention to detail as opposed to just a normal face,
So was it your first day of shooting when George Lucas was on the set, or was it the first day of shooting for The Mandalorian in general?
It wasn't the first day, because when I did the screen test, that was with Werner Herzog, and that was a week prior, but it might have been the first day that George was there. It was John's birthday.
Have you ever given us any Werner Herzog stories? I don't recall. I know Chris Bartlett did. But did you have any interactions with Werner? Because he seems to be like a very eccentric sort of dude.
But the one thing that was jaw-dropping about that day was that was the first time I saw the volume. And the one thing to me that I just could not take my eyes off was the back wall of his office was the volume. And if you go back and you see season 1, I mean, just how magical this thing is. It looks like we're out in the middle of the desert. So the whole time that I'm taking this screen test as Gecko for the first time in front of Dave and John and Deborah, they were filming simultaneously at the same time over with Werner. It was just the magic of seeing that LED screen for the first time. That's the only thing that I had in that regard. And then coming around the corner and seeing one of my favorite childhood toys, life size, there was a land speeder and also a life size. I thought IG-88 at the time, but of course now we know it's the best babysitter in the galaxy with 11 there.
Holy crap, that must have been mind blowing. So you got the volume, you got Werner Herzog, you got land speeders,
George
you got
Lucas
IG.
is showing up. My
God.
God.
George Lucas. Yeah, my head would just have exploded. Just Star Wars fandom. I would have just bled Star Wars all over the place.
You always heard that magical story with Samuel Jackson getting to pick his own lightsaber, getting to pick my own blaster was just a dream come true. And again, just thinking about the being a little bit more extensive than just a sidearm, I picked the biggest one on the table there. So again, all great backstories there for Gecko, and literally serving up a volleyball for Lucasfilm, and we just hope that they're going to spike the hell out of it within the next year there.
Yeah, here. Well, everyone loves The Mandalorian. Everyone loves you, and everyone's going to see you on the big Meet Gecko tour happening this summer. Yeah, you're running all the way to almost the end of August, going everywhere.
We're putting in the time. I didn't expect the industry to come back. Really fortunate. I start shooting Days of Our Lives on Thursday before I leave. We're sacrificing the next 2 months, but I told my agent and manager, this is an investment of my time. Again, I'm so appreciative of being able to work often. I just a little concerned with the narrative right now. I have a lot of friends that are, dressed in blue. They wear the badge, and I understand, there's a certain narrative right now in Hollywood. For me, I just like to stay neutral and just go to that world of escapism to make people happy. That's what I want. I'll be 46 in September. Towards the end of my career, I just want to make people happy and allow everyone from all walks of life to have that level of escapism and try to avoid those, modern day things as much as I can. I think it's all about making everyone happy in this world.
You're salt of the earth, my friend, and we really appreciate that here at Rebel Force Radio, and we appreciate all the things you do to make Star Wars and Star Wars fandom so much more fun. There's no Star Wars convention this year or anything like that, but Dominic is going across the country bringing Star Wars to you, and so I recommend everyone go out, say hi to Dominic, give him a pat on the back, shake his hand, and let him know you appreciate him as a Star Wars fan. The Meet Gecko tour information, you find it on Facebook and Instagram and all those places. And you'll see me and Swank. Oh, it is July 10th. I said July 11th earlier. It's July 10th, Alley Cat Comics, Chicago, Illinois. We had a great time last year. We're going to have an even better time this year.
I'm excited. I don't know if I'm ready for that deep dish anymore. You hit a certain age where it doesn't go away for 3 weeks. I said, when I was 24, it's like you just wake up the next morning, you're shredded. Oh my God. It's like it was like a brick for 5 days.
You have to fight through it, my friend.
You can't be Lou Malnati's. That was amazing.
You got to fight right through it. The pain is exquisite, my friend.
Dominic, I can't thank you enough, man. Looking forward to seeing you in a few weeks. And as Jim said, Follow him on his social media platforms and on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and get those tour dates locked and loaded. And on behalf of not a proprietor, but on behalf of all the guests and customers of these mom and pop shops, these CD shops, these comic book shops, all these different places that you're hitting, I really appreciate it. We appreciate you, and thanks for doing what you do.
Thank you to everyone. Appreciate your support this summer, and may the force be with you.
May the force be with you. The great Dominic Pace joining us in the cantina. Thanks again, Dominic. Appreciate it very much. All right.
Thank you, brother.
This is Carrie Fisher.
Hey, Jake Lloyd here.
Hello, this is Warwick Davis, and you're listening to Rebel Force Radio.
Now this is podcasting.
This is Anthony Daniels, and they asked me to throw in an ad-lib, but they didn't throw in any money, so I'm not going to throw in anything else. Goodbye.
Hey, it's James Arnold Taylor, the voice of Obi-Wan Kenobi, and I must tell you, the source for the Force is Rebel Force Radio, your source for the Force.
Hey, it's Mark Hamill, that Skywalker guy from those space movies.
Rebel Force Radio, what an unfortunate moniker.
Force yourself to listen.
All right, for you collectors out there, you are going to want to pay very close attention, because it was just a few days ago that Jimmy Mac texted me. He said, hey, have you seen this website? And the website was happybeeps.net. And I'm like, Happy Beeps? No, I haven't seen this. What's happybeeps.net? And then I clicked the link and I went there, and oh my gosh, I went to happybeeps.net, and basically what it is just an incredible archive of Star Wars merchandise, and so well organized. And here's the best part. You can actually create a profile for yourself and log your collection. And it's not just action figures. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff on here. And so, Jim, I wasn't all that familiar with Bill. I know he reached out to you and let you know that this site was off the ground.
Yeah, actually, I met Bill. As a matter of fact, Bill is here with us. Hi, Bill.
Oh yeah, well, I was going to talk about burying the lead. We've got the guy that created the website right here, Bill, and he reached out to Jim to let him know that the site had launched. And I met Bill Reedway. I met him at the Rancho Obi-Wan Gala back in 2018. And we had a good time that night, didn't we, Bill? That was a great party.
Incredible night, yeah.
That was a fantastic. Did you buy anything at the auction?
I bought way too much at the auction, man. I and they had to send it to me after the fact. It was quite a haul. I actually remember, being hanging out with you that night. I think we were going through the wine tasting or something like that, And I recall Pablo Hidalgo was there too. I don't know if you remember, he was around.
I do.
And there was, I was sitting down with you and a couple of other guys, and somebody whispers in my ear, "Hey, there's an open seat next to Pablo Hidalgo. You should go check it out. You should go grab it." And I said, I can't, man. I'm having a beer with Jimmy Mac right now.
That's awesome.
I said, I can't, man. And I love Pablo. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it wasn't that I didn't, but I was way too much enjoying the time we were having that night.
Wow.
Oh
Priorities.
my God. Thank you. That was a blast. We had so much fun. And that's really nice of you to say that. Yeah. And I appreciate it more than you could possibly imagine. but so you told me about it back then, that you had this idea for a website, and here we are 3 years later almost. And
that's incredible. Yeah.
And happybeeps.net is live. And that's what Jason was so impressed by, was the ability to checklist your collection and be able to pull it up instantly. I think Jason's initial reaction when I showed it to him was, where's this website been all my life? So for a collector,
really nice
and we, so you've done a great job with the functionality of it. It's very practical. That's what I like.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I got to tell you that I've been, as you said, I've been thinking about this site for years, right? And there are incredible collectors websites out there, right? Folks that go really, really deep, multiple angles of every figure and everything. And those are amazing. And I'm friends with a lot of the guys, and I would never seek to try to replace any of them. But what I wanted to do is I wanted to create a site that was not just for action figure collectors, not just for Lego collectors, not just for books and comics people, everything like that, but something that was really kind of for everybody. And, to your point, it took me several years to kind of put all this information together and collect all these images for all corners of the internet. But I think that what we've got here is something that is, that is unique, because as you say, it's not only intended to be kind of comprehensive, but it's also intended to be pretty personal. And whatever your particular entry point into the galaxy far, far away is, that's an entry point into Happy Beeps too. So if you're interested only in the Mandalorian, if you're interested only in Darth Vader, or you just like Lego, or you just like Legends, there's a way in for you to create kind of a personal way, not only to kind of track what you have, but also to see what else is out there and be surprised, because it's an incredible 45-year history of merchandising and storytelling, and I always wanted a site that kind of had it all in one place, and that's kind of what I tried to do.
Oh, the timing's perfect too, because me and Jason, we've both been, I think, taking our collections a little more seriously and trying to control them, trying to rein them in, trying to organize them, and most importantly, catalog them. Because after almost 45 years of this stuff, I really don't even know what I personally own anymore. I have so much. I'm just an obsessive Star Wars action figure collector.
Yeah. I tell you what helps me is two things. One is Happy Beeps. Right, is that I've got myself tracked in there. So if I go into the comic book store and I can't remember what variants I have, I can I can very quickly look it up and say, okay, if I've got this one already, and here's one that I don't have. The other thing that helps is it helps having a 12-year-old son. I'll just say that the kid remembers what I have better than I do. And when we're at GameStop or Target or whatever, and we're looking at stuff, he can say, "Nah, you don't have that. You should get it."
Oh, my kid would be able to.
But no, not everybody has a 12-year-old son. So Happy Beeps is out there for you.
It's the 12-year-old son to bring out the 12-year-old in you. Hey,
exactly.
My son, when he was 12, I would constantly be asking him, "Do we have this?" Because he had that same sort of that trap that he would remember everything, because kids are so impressionable. That you show them something, they never forget it. So that's great. I totally hear what you're saying about that. Happy Beeps. Yeah. How'd you come up with the name?
So I know I love listening to you guys. I love listening to you guys your commentaries of all the films. I love hearing the different perspectives and things like that. I've always been a huge Last Jedi fan, and that once when I heard that story about that initial scene, right, that I have a bad feeling about this was actually BB-8 at that moment. And Poe's response to that was Happy Beeps. That's something that just kind of that spoke to me at that at that particular moment. And all right, and it happened to be that was a time where the site was really kind of coming together. So I looked around. I said, anybody else have a site? Anybody else have anything like that? And it was available. So it's both a website and a philosophy. That's kind of how I like to think about it.
Nice.
That's so cool. Nice. At the heart of any website like this is a really robust database, right? And
yes, sir. Yeah.
And the ability to drill down, because there's so many. If you just take action figures, for example, there's so many versions of different characters, and so you break it down by the actual toy line, the film, the sort of the moment in the film. You can also look at the various timelines of the Star Wars galaxy. So basically, it's a great resource for collectors, but also if you inherit a collection, if you come upon a collection, you're trying to find what is this that I have. Your site makes it really. If you know what character it is, you can pretty much drill down and find out what piece you actually have. It's incredible.
Yeah, so it's exactly like you say, there's kind of three ways in to the toy catalog, right? The first is characters. And when I say characters, it includes everything. It's creatures, it's vehicles, it's equipment, it's locations, and of course it's actual characters. And there's an easy way to search for the character that you're interested in. There's over 1,600 of them in there, leading to just over 8,500 toys, right? So characters is one way in. The other way in, like you say, is through product line, and there's I think 8 or 9 different manufacturers in there. We've got Mattel, we've got Lego, we've got Funko, we've got Hot Wheels. We obviously have Hasbro, we got Disney. I've got Pez recently. Later on this summer there'll be Sideshow, so you can kind of get in if you know kind of what product line you're looking for. And then, as you say, if you're in terms of the story and the way I have the timeline broken down, it's amazing what they've done, right? Because there's not only characters from the films or characters from the TV shows, but there's characters from the comic books, right? There are toys from the novels, right? There's all these different things that you can kind of go in and seek if there's a particular story that speaks to you. Maybe they built a toy around it. You can find that, right? And then you talk about the data model. One of the things that I put into the registry, which I think is pretty unique, and I'm a data guy myself. I'm a technology guy.
No.
So this is dynamite radio, But when we talk about data models, there's the notion of this kind of a many-to-many relationship between the toys and the merchandise that they're packaged in, right? So you've got certain toys that are produced multiple times, right? So you can see, what's the Darth Vader action figure that was repackaged the most times. You can find that,
yes,
right? And then you go the other way as well. You can search for multi-packs, right? You can search for battle packs. You can search for, even the Lego will put out a package that's got 5 or 6 minifigs in it. You can actually, that relationship is in there too. So one of the things I've found in talking to people is you start clicking around on the registry, and you just there's always something else to click on. There's always something else. There's always another direction to go.
Man. I lost hours.
Yeah.
I lost hours. Well, I shouldn't say I lost hours, but I went down on such a rabbit trail. But as Jim said, this is I think a website that's coming along at a great time, because you have to look at guys like Jimmy Mack, myself, you, that have been collecting for 40 plus years. We get to that point where, like, all right, let's take stock. All right, where are we in our collection?
Right,
and also, one of the most overwhelming, maybe this is just me personally, but one of the most overwhelming moments that I endure every couple of years is I'm on the floor, the dealer room of the dealer area of a big convention, and I'm like, and I'm looking at all this stuff. I'm like, God, I can't remember what I have. I can't remember what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And so this allows you to add things to a want list, an own packaged list, an own loose list, which I love. And then, and you think you got it. Oh, I found my figure, and you click on own packaged, and then a thing pops up and it's like, yeah, but which version do you have? Do you do you have the long saber, the short saber? What do you got going on?
Yeah,
so I am curious, because everybody defines, every collector defines variant differently. How did you define variant? Where did you draw the line?
Well, and to your point, it's absolutely a judgment call, and not everybody does it the same way, right? But what I tried to do with a particular figure, is if it's clear that the manufacturer tried to produce the same thing, even if they did the paint job a little bit better, right? I will try to have a relationship between those two things, right? I do have the concept of repaints in the database so that you can see, here's the original, and then this is the number of times that it's been repainted. And what I tried to do is I tried to limit the repaints and the retools relationship to when things are noticeable, right? And again, noticeable is a judgment call, right? This is supposed to be fun. It's not supposed to stress us out, but I do acknowledge that there are going to be people out there that say, well, you say that these two are the same. This is a straight repack, but here's a variation where I can see that it's a little bit different. What I tried to do was if the manufacturer's intent was to produce the same figure, then I tried to call that a repack. But if there's a noticeable improvement, like for example, what Hasbro is doing now with the photoreal. The photoreal repaints. Okay, so those to me, I track them as different figures. And there's a relationship, right? So you can see here's the original and here's the repaint. So you can kind of see, you can kind of track the lineage of particular toolings and things like that, But if not everybody does that, I respect that, and that's why I say, there's always going to be a relationship between the repaints and their originals. And if somebody is a repaint that's really just a touch up, or just something that is a more recent attempt to do the same thing, most of the time you're going to see that as the same figure.
Yeah.
But it is a judgment call. I completely concede.
Sure. But something that is kind of been frustrating for me as a collector over the years is that sites like this will come on and they'll eventually sort of lose steam, and then all of a sudden you don't have, so how are you, what steps are you taking to make sure that you are, kind of mining the store, and at the same time being open to what's new? Because, I gotta say, I love new product, but the way that it is announced with these live streams and, there's so many different outlets for it. Oh, this is a fan channel thing. This is an exclusive to this. This is, it makes it very difficult. Thank God we have people like you that are willing to take that on. Truly. So how are you sort of future-proofing the site and yourself to be able to bring all this into one place?
That's a great question, and I'll tell you the truth. The site launched on May the 4th, right? That was when I actually finished the design, and I had gotten myself to where every publication and every toy just about had an image associated with it, and I was kind of ready to go live. And I got to tell you, that took years of work. And it was really, it was almost every spare minute that I had, over the course of many summers, many nights, many early mornings, many weekends, just basically trying to get it all in there because I wanted it to be done. And the truth of the matter is that trying to keep up with things as they kind of come out now is actually much easier than that. To tell you the truth, just because there was so much that was there. But I tell you a couple things. One is that I'm a one-man show, right? So you hit the nail on the head there, right? I would love to bring on kind of additional sort of staff, for lack of a better word. And one of the things I'm trying to do right now with discussions like this is that if people are interested, they can always find me. They can contact me on the site, say, "Hey, I'd love to help you out," and we could find a way to work together. I'm not the type of guy that's like, okay, if there's news that comes out today, it's got to be up on the site by tonight.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I love
I'm
that
happy
though.
To let it go.
I love that you're going to let the news guys do the news thing.
That's what I'm saying, and I love those guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I rely on them. I rely on them a lot. But I'm not gonna try to be one of those guys. This is a collector's resource. For the long haul, like you say.
Yeah.
So the big focus for me right now is I've got I have new product that I want to get in. Like I want to get in the sideshow stuff. That stuff is beautiful. I want to get images of that into the database. I want to round it out. I want to fill out some of the other product lines from overseas that a lot of people are interested in. I'm going to spend time on that, and then what I'm actually most interested in. You talk about how difficult it can be right now, kind of keeping up with things. I know one of the problems I have is if I pre-order a toy in February, right? I can't always remember what I pre-ordered.
Oh man, I don't know how many Sunday mornings I spend just going to the various e-tailers that I use to go, God, is something going to show up this week? Like, what did I order?
Right.
Especially during COVID times where the time from a pre-order to it actually shipping is expanded like crazy.
It's months, right?
Yeah.
I've got right now the Black Series, the Phase 4 Black Series Darth Vaders. I got 4 of them. Okay, because I kept forgetting where I got them from, and then I would look like it.
Where's your 12-year-old? You need to ask him. You need to get him to sign off on this stuff.
But that's the thing. Like, they kept showing up. I get one from Hasbro Pulse, and then a week later, I get one from Entertainment Earth, and I'm like, look, I love supporting everybody. That's great. But one of the things I want to do, for collectors in the site is I want to add some additional functionality. That's like, here's my list of pre-orders. Here's what I expect them to come, and things like that. And
oh my God.
And I got a lot of ideas in terms of, so Jimmy and Jason, you guys got a lot of stuff. How great would it be if you could just like kind of click a button and get like an insurance report out the door? You know what I mean? That says, here's what I've got, here's how much it's worth. All that stuff is.
I think that's one of the reasons why Mac is archiving the collection is part of that is for insurance purposes. And
we're talking about a lot of stuff. It's important to a lot of people. And it's a lot of peace of mind. So the reason I bring all this up is to say that kind of stuff is frankly, it's more important to me than sort of keeping up with the news day by day. I think that we are in a golden age right now. I just with the TV series, the movies coming down the road, the stuff that Marvel is doing, it's a great time to be a fan.
Yes.
I'm kind of in this for the long haul, to be of some help and some service to my friends and to other people who will find it interesting. And it doesn't have to be, every single day. Here's the latest. I think the kinds of relationships that I'd like to be able to support are people that come back to the site once a week. Hey, is anything change, anything new? What's the value in my collection? As I say, whatever people are into, I want them to have a home. I want them to have some place where they can kind of congregate together and share stories and share.
Can I make one suggestion for the site?
Please. Yeah.
And maybe you can have this in time for the next celebration. Because what I would like to be able to do is generate and print out a list of all of my wants. Before I go to celebration, like kick out my want list so that when I'm going from dealer room to from the dealer table to dealer table, I know what I'm looking for. That would be credible. Because I love being able to log onto the site and see these beautiful photos, but there's also some utility to being able to just print out a simple list. Of what I got or what I want. So I know you're doing the Lord's work here. I don't want to lay too much on you.
No, man. But I think that's kind of exactly the best kind of outcome for me is that those kinds of ideas are just sort of flooding in, and if I get people that really do like this and really do want to, kind of be part of this kind of community and share ideas about what are the kinds of things that collectors need. I'm just happy to be a part of it. I'm happy to be here talking to you guys. I'm having such a blast with this. It's really a privilege. So,
well, it's great hanging with you, Bill, and it was great hanging with you at the Rancho Obi-Wan Gala. I don't know if you're aware, but the next gala has been announced for next August 2022, live at Rancho Obi-Wan.
I'll be there for sure.
Oh, great! Maybe I will be too.
Yeah, no, I love those. I love those cats. And of course you mentioned Celebration. That's that's great. We'll probably have 2 or 3 new TV series. Who knows how many new toys? Who knows how many tie-in novels? It's every time I think, we're slowing down, I can start to save some money.
Yeah,
they pull me back in.
I was just going to say, all right, so the website is happybeeps.net. A couple of things before we let you go. So happybeeps.net. Number one, how can people contact you if they want to contribute in some way? Because you have, I'm sure you have a huge collection, but you don't have everything. Are you looking for contributors? Are you looking for people to send you photos, or what is it how can we show you that we support what you're doing?
That's really kind of it. So the best thing to do is to go out to happypeeps.net, and at the bottom of the page, there are 2 items there. There's one that says contact us, and the other says suggestion box. And it doesn't matter to me which one you use. But what I will be doing from time to time is I'll be posting news items on the site that say, hey, seeking images for XYZ, and the contact us and suggestion box items there is ways you can always contact me. Any ideas ideas that you have, any suggestions. I've also got a Facebook page. It's facebook.com/happybeeps. That's a great way to kind of keep up with things, and you can always contact me there as well. And those are probably the two best ways to do it.
Do you have a Patreon or any way that people can sort of contribute? Because this stuff takes time. A lot of people don't realize how much time and resources that it takes to run something like this.
Sure. I'll tell you something. Right now, it's a labor of love. Right now, it's a privilege. I'm having a blast doing it. The ideas that I have for the site, I'm almost hesitant to even kind of bring them up. But the ideas that I have for the site, I'm going to get to the point where I probably won't be able to handle it all myself, and at that time, it'll be a privilege to reach out again and try to solicit some additional support. Because as I say, I'm a fan first, and just collaborating with people that love the same things that I love is really why I got started doing this in the first place. And we're just getting started. Like I said, the idea's been percolating for a long time. I'm so happy that it's finally out there. And we're a couple weeks into the launch right now. It's a great time to go out and set up a free account, and then we're going to keep the train rolling. It's a blast. Yeah.
Oh, this is great, and congratulations, Bill. Really, I mean, and I know you've been working on it for a long time. Labor of love, dedication, and passion, and the site reeks of all three. And so I want everyone to. I just followed you guys or liked you guys on Facebook. I didn't know about the Facebook page, so I want
it's
everyone.
Out there. Yep.
I want everyone listening who collects Star Wars and are serious about your collections, and you want to keep it all together and utilize this great resource, happybeeps.net. Go to Happy Beeps on Facebook and tell them Rebel Force Radio sent you, and be sure to like them and get your collection together. Get your act together. Star Wars collectors, and Happy Beeps is the website we've been waiting for to help us do that. I really appreciate it, and I really appreciate your devotion and your service to Star Wars fandom.
I got one last question for you, Bill.
Thank you for having me, really. Yes, sir.
Well, I'm so curious because as I'm looking on the website here, you can look up your collectible, your item by character, and I see number one, starting off here, we've got Anakin Skywalker / Darth Vader at 363. So, of course, my question is, which character has the most or the highest number of themed collectibles or characters or stuff?
Yeah.
I mean, Anakin / Vader at 363 is huge. 363 items in your database.
That's right.
Jimmy wants to guess.
I don't like the Anakin / Vader. I think they should be considered two different characters.
Another judgment call, right? And that's it, because you're absolutely right. He gets the bonus because he's he's effectively two different people. But we can get into that philosophy another time.
Certain point of view,
but yes, right. So if you and Jason, if you go out to the site, there's a little option there that says main characters only.
I see it.
And what
I'm
that'll
clicking
do, right? So go ahead and click on that, and that'll actually cut through. Right. Okay. So now you're basically looking here, and you're looking at this is the ranked list. Okay. This is the ranked list. This is your top. This is your top stuff. Right. So Luke is a number 2 slot with a little over.
So it is Anakin / Vader is number one.
Yes.
And look at that. Absolutely. Then we got Luke and Han. Wow, this is fascinating. And then look at Obi-Wan in the number 4 slot. Amazing.
But that again includes old Ben and young Obi-Wan.
That's exactly correct. That's exactly correct.
Two different characters in my book.
Again,
I really do.
Love what you love, man. I don't disagree. Like I say, it's all.
Oh, look at Yoda. I'm happy to see Yoda in the top 10, and then of course Stormtrooper. I mean, what an iconic classic look, the Stormtrooper figure. I mean, just
yes.
I was watching a guy on YouTube. There's a guy out there out of the UK, Bosk's Bounty. I was watching some of his stuff. There's so many great YouTubers, and he had a great
site.
And and he had a comment, and I thought, damn, that's so dead on. He goes, look, I think there should always be a stormtrooper available on the pegs.
Yes.
There should always, so there are certain characters that should always be available for, moms, dads, gift givers, collectors, whatever. You should always be able to grab a stormtrooper if you want one. And I just of course, when you think about the way that the original vintage Kenner stuff was put out there, and the way they recycled the characters on the different card backs so that mom, dad, gift giver, whomever was out looking for a Luke Skywalker, they could find a Luke Skywalker.
Right on.
One of the features that I just started on the site is I'm calling it the Happy Beeps 100. And what I did is I ranked all the characters in terms of how many toys were produced for every single character. And I'm starting in the number 100 spot. And it just started. So it's only at like 95, 96 right now. And I'm looking at, at Asajj Ventress and Aura Singh and a couple of these others, and these are characters that you can get. If you look hard enough, you can find 10, 11, 12 different versions of those characters, right? But then as you start to get up that list, right? I mean, imagine, there's 94 characters that have more toys than Asajj Ventress.
Wow.
Right. And again, this includes X-Wings, it includes TIE fighters, it includes, the Death Star, all these different things, right? So this is the entry for Biggs. Right?
Biggs.
So there's 11 different Biggs toys out there. There's a Hot Wheels car for Biggs. There's Funko Pops for Biggs, but we're just getting started.
This is so cool because
we're going to work our way all the way down.
When you think about one way, especially for new collectors, like I want to start my collection. What's a good place to start? And a lot of times we'll say like start with your favorite character. So if you're a Biggs fan, well, you go to happybeeps.net. You can see all of the different Biggs collectibles that you can grab. Like you said, from Hot Wheels to action figures, they're all there. This is such a great way to sort of
just to have some fun and look for new stuff. Yeah,
so cool, man. I love this website. I really do. It's so well named. Happy Beeps. Nothing but happy beeps from me when I'm on the site. So please, we encourage all of our listeners and viewers to check it out. Happybeeps.net. Reach out and see if it's something that you want to help contribute with, but keep your eye on the site and see if there's some way that you can contribute. We want nothing. I told Jim, I'm like, whatever we got to do to make this site work, make it live. Let's get in because I need it. And let's hope that by the time Celebration rolls around that I'm able to just print out my want list so that I can head out to the convention floor and be ready.
That sounds great. I look forward to hanging out with you there. It's going to be great.
Awesome, man.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you so much, Bill. Take care.
It's a pleasure, guys. Thank you.
Happybeeps.net is the website. And like I said, go check them out on the social media. Hit them up on Facebook and tell them RFR sent you.
Happy Beeps here, buddy. Come on.
Oh, that's going to do it for us this week. Huge thanks to our guests. Dominic Pace joining us in the cantina. And also Bill Reedway at happybeeps.net. Check out more Rebel Force Radio through our Patreon. So check us out, rebelforceradio.com. You can click on the Patreon banner or go to patreon.com/rebelforceradio. You get full show video. Yes, that's right. The podcast you're listening to right now, you can get the full show video of that, as well as exclusive podcasts that you can't subscribe to via your podcatcher of choice. Things like RFR Comlink, the Q&A, the Babu Freaks, the Clone Wars Declassified Remastered, and so much more. All of that can be found at Rebel Force Radio's Patreon. You can jump to the head of the queue when you're calling in on the RFR live streams, like the Bad Batch After Show. Just identify yourself to our intrepid call screener as a Patreon member. You'll get jumped to the head of the line. All those details, like I said, can be found at patreon.com/rebelforceradio. Also, huge thanks to our sponsor this week, Raycon. Go to buyraycon.com/RFR. Get 15% off all their products. Don't forget about Rebel Force Radio on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/Rebel Force Radio. It's just an incredible repository, a virtual archive of Rebel Force Radio content, a decade and a half spanning classic interviews, parodies, and bits, all the way to the latest live streams of the after shows, Bad Batch after show, Mandalorian after show. They're all there. And new full show audio. Right, Jim? Big releases each and every week. The full show audio on YouTube.
Yeah, it's great. And you can listen to it in real time with other Star Wars fans and comment in the chat and talk about us and correct us and laugh at us. Or no, laugh with us.
Yes.
And and that's a lot of fun. So that happens on Thursdays at 5 o'clock Central. We're trying to nail that time, get it exact each week, where you can catch the debut of the weekly show each week. So check it all out. RFR on YouTube. A lot of good stuff there. We're opening up the vaults, pulling out audio, video even, of me invading Skywalker Ranch to voice some battle droids with Matthew Wood. So we dusted off that one and posted it up on YouTube this week, along with highlights from the Filoni files and so much more. It's all happening at RFR on YouTube.
And if you'd like to talk to us in between shows, we'd love to hear from you. The email address is show@rebelforceradio.com. The voicemail line, we're open 24/7, so you can leave us a voicemail, 708-320-1737. That's 708-320-1RFR. And please follow us on our social media platforms like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. The Facebook, we have the official Rebel Force Radio Facebook group. Join today. Great conversation amongst Star Wars fans. Just a couple of questions to make sure that you're really a listener of Rebel Force Radio, and you'll be added to the club. And don't forget about the official website for all things and everything Rebel Force Radio, rebelforceradio.com. Please keep listening. You can subscribe and review Rebel Force Radio on your patcher of choice. We'd love to have those subscriptions. We'd love to have those reviews. Just one rule, please.
Make them good.
And you'll find us streaming at WGNplus.com, Jedi News, iHeart, TuneIn, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, Samsung. What is this? Audacity.com? That's a new one.
Right. That's what they turned radio.com into.
Oh, my gosh.
Entercom is now Audacity.
Audacity.
And, Audacity.
The audacity of such a thing. Anywhere else you can find podcasts, you'll find us here at Rebel Force Radio. That's it. We'll see you next week here on the flagship show, Rebel Force Radio. But don't forget, Bad Batch After Show, we'll be looking at, oh my gosh, what are we up to? Episode 7?
Yes.
Episode 7 of the Bad Batch will be live on YouTube. And the only way you know exactly when we're going to be streaming live is if you follow us on YouTube. So make sure you subscribe on YouTube, hit the notification bell, and you'll know when we're going to go live. And you can call in with your phone calls and talk to us about what you thought about the Bad Batch as a whole, that particular episode, whatever it is, we'll pop you on. All right, that's it. We'll see you next time for Rebel Force Radio. I'm Jason.
I'm Jimmy Mack.
And remember,
the Force will be with you, always.
Rebel Force Radio.